Hi everyone, I hope you're doing good. In fact, I'm doing great. And with regard to our upcoming examinations of CSEET, that is Company Secretary Executive Entrance Test. Previously, you would have seen me taking current affairs sessions to you people wherein we discuss the syllabus in detail. But I told you that this subject is continuously flowing, wherein you would have to discuss syllabus, but the subject doesn't end there. We have to discuss all the recent happenings that's happening after we discuss the classes that we did previously. Now, there are a lot of things happening. There's news every day. News in a daily basis will go for hours. So, what news to remember for the examination? That's way too much, isn't it? Yeah, if you can remember what was discussed previously in the classes, I had clearly mentioned that what is to be remembered for the exam CSEET with regard to current affairs is clearly defined by ICSI. They've told that you would have to read the PDF, that is a subject content which is released in the ICSI website, and along with that you would have to read the monthly bulletins that is issued exclusively with respect to CSEET. And we have discussed the subject in detail previously. So now we're going to discuss the bulletins with regard to each of the months and whatever is happening in that month. Yeah. And however, we'll do few MCQs based on this recent bulletin as well, whatever is again published in the ICSA bulletin. So without wasting much time, let's get started with ICSA bulletin with regard to CSET current affairs for the month of June 2020. Yeah. So the first news that's coming up and that's included in our bulletin is with regard to RBI. This was part of our financial affairs, if you guys can remember. Yeah. And RBI in the month of June has set up a committee, a separate working group. It's called as internal working group. Now, this internal working group's focus is exclusively relating to private sector banks. Now, when we say banks, banks are regulated by RBI. So, RBI decides how a bank should function. When will a company become a bank? Or what are the rules it should follow? So, when will RBI issue license to a company to become bank? Or once it acquires license, how does it function? Who can hold the stake in it? How much percentage of stake can they hold? So, what are the standard operating procedures in the bank? So all these are basically decided by Reserve Bank of India. Now, this internal working group, what I'm talking about in this particular news segment is exclusively related to private banks. Now, when we talk banking companies in our country, banks in our country, there will be public banks, there will be private banks, there will be commercial, nationalized, non-nationalized, and then what is a rural bank, cooperative bank, lot of other things. But the current matter of discussion is very exclusive to private banks. The question is why? The answer is pretty simple. If you can go back and then remember our discussion that we did with regard to banking sector, we discussed few interesting cases relating to our PMC bank, if you can recall. Yeah, Punjab Maharashtra Cooperative Bank, and Yes Bank's discussion was also pretty interesting. Yeah, so there are a lot of laws that happened in the banking system. A lot of people suffered with regard to that. Now that's a kind of thing that shouldn't repeat. Now, whatever happened with PMC Bank should not repeat again. You get that? And whatever happened with Yes Bank, again, it should not repeat. Whatever has happened has happened. We need to correct it. And in the same line, we need to ensure that those things don't repeat. So, what is it that we should do? Now, RBI should see the licensing agreements or the licensing considerations that RBI is issuing. Is it correct? Or should there be any changes? And what happened in PMC, if you guys can remember, the stakeholding, the promoter was interested in other company. That's the reason they gave loans ruthlessly. Now, how much of the percentage can the stakeholder hold in a bank? And if he holds and if he has interest in some other entity also, how do we deal with it in such cases? Yeah. So regarding all this, so there's a committee which has been set up, internal working group. Yeah. This is basically held by PK Mohanty. And this committee is going to discuss in detail as to what should be the changes that should happen in the banking sector. And they're going to come out with a suggestion which will be issued by this working committee to RBI by end of September. That is, the standard due date given is 30th of September. You guys get that? Okay. So let's quickly see what exactly is this news. So currently the ownership and control of private banks is guided by RBI's framework issued in 2005. If you can see, 2005 wala framework is there. Now they want to revise it. Okay. So RBI study will take into consideration the key developments that has happened over years. So the second point is recently whatever developments has happened with respect to our Raghavendra Cooperative Bank or Yes Bank or PMC Bank. Considering all this, what should be the changes in the private sector banking regulations? So that's supposed to be suggested by this internal working committee. And this committee, okay, that's what again IWG and then ownership. They want to revise the 2005 thing. Yeah. So I'll tell you what exactly is important. Yeah, concentrate on this. So the committee consists of 5 members. So it's a 5 member working group which will comprise of Dr. Prasanna Kumar Mohanty. See, this might be an examination question. So who's heading the internal working group which is formed by RBI to change the regulations relating to functioning of private sector banks? That might be a question in the examination. So what is the correct option? Dr. P.K. Mohanty. That is Prasanna Kumar Mohanty. So is the deputy manager of, so is a deputy director, so is a director of Central Board of RBI. So there are several other directors in the Central Board who are part of this committee. The other one is Professor Sachin Chaturvedi, then Lily Vadera, and S.C. Murmu, and Shirmohan Yadav, and all these things. So with respect to Murmu, if you remember in our regular class, we had read this in a newspaper. Yeah, you guys remember? Yes. So if you can open your class notes and then go through that, you will get to know. And what exactly are they going to do? The terms of the reference of the committee is number one, to review the extent of licensing guidelines. Now, basically, if I want to start one bank, Rajwardhan Bank, what is it that I should do? I should apply to RBI and RBI should issue me license. Only then I can function as a bank. Now, in order to get the license, there are certain guidelines. So, what are those guidelines? Are those guidelines still up to date? Like these guidelines were framed in 2005. So this committee will check if there should be any changes in these guidelines. Yeah, so that's the first point. And these guidelines relates to ownership and control. How much percentage can be held by private people in a bank? How much can they control an Indian bank? All those things. So the second point is to examine and review the eligibility criteria of individuals or entities to apply for banking license. Again, the same thing. I just covered that. And then to study the current regulations on holding of financial subsidiaries to non-operative financial operational holding. Again, like how can a bank hold another bank? So with regard to this, there are certain changes. Okay. So that again, they need to tell if there is any changes that is required in the existing guidelines. The fourth point is to examine and review norms of promoter shareholding. Yeah, same thing happened with respect to PMC. So this point has come exclusively because of PMC case. You get that? So promoter holding, how much should be there? When is the changes allowed? So the existing guidelines, whatever is there in the 2005 framework, that needs to be reconsidered, and they need to tell if there is any changes that is required in that. Yeah. The next one, to identify any other issue. Okay, if there is any other issue or recommendations that is required, that has to be done, and the committee will submit its report on 30th of September 2020. Yeah, few important takeaways from this is, first thing, so this is going to change the framework which was issued in which was issued in 2005. That's the first point. Second point, this is exclusively relating to private sector banks. Third one, so who's the person holding this, controlling this entire group? P.K. Mohanty, Prasanna Kumar Mohanty. That's the third point. And when are they supposed to give the draft report on this? September 30th. Yeah, these 4 points you just remember, and the rest of it is fine. You need not mug up these 5 points as to what exactly is the parts or responsibilities of that committee. Not required. So this is the first news that is covered in our ICSA bulletin. I'll take you to the second news that is covered. I'm taking you to BBC website for this one. So this lady is an astronomer. Basically, she was part of NASA. In fact, she's the first woman to be part of a space mission by NASA, and she made a world record by going to the deepest part of the ocean. So deepest part of the ocean in the sense the deepest part of the planet, in fact. So she holds a very unique record for the only person to be on the space as well as the deepest part of the ocean. The common thing about being on space and being in deepest part of the ocean is both the places the gravity will be like almost zero. You get that? Down in the ocean also you might not feel much gravity. And the very beautiful part is, to reach the place where she was, she had to take a 10-hour path to reach there. And when you go deep inside the ocean, there will be a lot of weight falling on you. Yeah, for a square feet, the amount of the weight that was falling was 8 tons. That's huge. I think if you people have seen this movie Ghazi Attack, yeah, then in that movie, when the submarine basically goes deep inside the ocean, they start explaining what will happen if the submarine goes more deeper. They'll take the example of an egg and then say how much pressure is falling on that egg. Yeah, if you guys can recall. So what's her name? Her name is Sullivan. Okay, let's just quickly cover the news, whatever is there here. Yes, this is from the BBC website. Okay. Yeah. So her name is Kathy Sullivan. This is again a possible question. Examination, there might be a question. So the woman who's made history in sea and space. So she's been to space and she's also been to deepest part of the ocean. Okay. The interesting fact is that, see, it's 11-kilometer distance basically. And then what else is important in this thing? That's a picture. So the first mission was STS-41G in 1984. She'd been there. So that's not something that you should remember. Not required to remember that part. She's pretty old, 64 years of age. Wow. In our country, we call ourselves senior citizen and then stay at home at that age. Yeah. Okay. Later year, he became the first person to visit the deepest point of the ocean. Okay, this is with regard to someone else. So yes, yeah, it takes 4 to 5 hours to descend and ascend to that particular point. To go down and then come up, it takes 4 to 5 hours to go so deep. You guys get that? When you jump, no, you take seconds to go down by 10 meters, 15 meters. But she took 4 hours to go so deep. Now, like I've done scuba dive. Okay, the depth at which I've done is 16 meters and 20 meters. My dream is to do scuba dive at 32 meters. That is like open water diving. If things would have been fine, I might have been doing at this point of time in Andaman. But I've postponed it currently to next year. I want to do certified. I want to become a certified scuba diver. Yeah, from PADI. PADI is Professional Association for Driving Instructors. Okay, so there we do it up to 32 meters. But 32 meters is the depth to which we do it. She's done it to the depth of 6 miles. Do you understand? 6 miles, guys. 6 miles is so deep. She goes 6 miles down into the ocean. Yeah, they define it in terms of miles and not kilometers. You know, right? US people are quite different. And then it's 22 degrees Fahrenheit there, basically minus 5 degrees Celsius. So it's below freezing point. Yeah, and then pressure at 16,000 psi. Somewhere around like 8 tons per square feet is the amount of what to say, the weight that will fall on each square feet there. Yeah, so these are the few pictures of where she was and what she was doing. So this is another news that was there. So don't forget the name. So the important takeaways from this part of it, what you need to note down is, note down her name. So the name goes like Kathy Sullivan. Yeah, Kathy Sullivan. Kathy Sullivan, deepest point in the ocean, first woman to reach there. And she's the person who's been to space as well as there. Yeah, so that's the news from this one. Let's go to the next one. Okay, this is again little news from RBI. Okay, this news is with regard to People's Cooperative Bank. This is exactly similar to our PMC Bank. You guys remember Punjab Maharashtra Cooperative Bank? There, RBI had put a restriction. No, you cannot withdraw money. Now I have an account with PMC Bank. RBI told I can't withdraw money from PMC Bank beyond 20,000. They raised it up to 50,000. You remember that? And similarly, same thing is happening with People's Cooperative Bank. People's Cooperative Banks is a bank which is basically hailing from Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh. And what's happening with this bank is the financial position is terrible. The financial stability is terrible. The ratios are pathetic. So RBI has given a standing instruction to People's Cooperative Bank saying that you cannot issue loan. You cannot issue loan. You cannot accept deposit for the next 6 months from June. This was issued in June. So July, August, September, October, November, December. Basically till end of this year, this People's Cooperative Bank cannot do banking functions. Now when you say bank, what does bank do? Bank accepts deposits, gives it as loans. Whereas this cooperative bank cannot accept deposit from people and cannot give loans to people. So it's basically a bank which cannot do banking functions. You get that? So this condition has been put on whom? People's Cooperative Banks. For how many long? For how long? For 6 months. Why? Its financial position is pathetic. Yeah. So these directions will remain in force for 6 months, and from the close of business on June 10th are subject to review. Okay. RBI has said no withdrawal of amount of depositor will be allowed. So depositors cannot withdraw the money. Okay. So this is the case with respect to this. Yeah, why the state of operation is terrible. They want to know what's wrong and what is the financial stability of the bank. So that's the reason they put this condition. Okay, the bank will continue to undertake banking business with restriction till its financial position improves itself. So if it has to, it's not like completely stop. If it has to give loan to someone, it has to take RBI permission. So someone has applied for loan and it wants to give loan. It will say 1 second, I'll take RBI permission and come. But RBI will not give permission so easily. They would have to be very much satisfied that okay, fine, this is things are happening here, things are okay here. So though it is like allowed with RBI permission, we can assume like it's put on hold till 6 months. So 6 months they can't do, and once it becomes normal, then it will be starting its normal banking functions. Yeah. So that's from the news with regard to People's Cooperative Bank. And the last one with regard to this is public procurement. Okay, this is something similar to what is self-reliant India, or What again we can call is something like, okay, Atmanirbhar scheme. You remember, yeah, more Narendra Modi one fine day came and told, okay, we need to be Atmanirbhar, and then like all of us were trying to just understand what exactly does that word mean and how do you spell that word. Yeah, so something related to Atmanirbhar scheme. The government basically has to get lot of works done. Now government has to build one road, infrastructure development. Government has to build one complex. Yeah, government has to build one bridge, railways, lot of things government has to do. Government will not do it itself. What will it do? It will call for tenders, and it will give tenders to private people to do this. When it is doing this, government is right now decided that it will scale people category 1, category 2, category 3, level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 are those companies which as basically using inputs out of domestic products. Now I am a level 1 tender contractor. What I do is, in the process of the contract, I will use lot of goods, I will use lot of services. More than 50% of such goods and services are locally manufactured. So if you give me the tender, I will give employment to people who are in India, or I will buy goods from the people who are in India. I will not import goods. You get that? So I have more probability of getting the contract. So level 1 people are those contractors who use more than 50% of the goods and services which are manufactured or made in India. So this is like promotion of made in India. Level 2 are those peoples who fall less than 50 but more than 20. So if I use 100 products, no, out of the 20 products, 20% of the products are made in India. So I'm at level 2. So level 2 people will get second, what to say, second priority in getting this contract. And there is level 3 who use less than 20%. These people will not get any government tenders, will not get any government contractors. Now assume there are 3 people, A, B, C. A. A, in order to execute the contract. Now assume that A is getting one road laying contract to lay one road or to construct one complex. I will buy bricks, I'll buy cement, I'll buy metal, I'll hire certain number of employees, I'll buy some engineer and everything. So what I'm doing is 50% of that is local. I'm hiring one Indian passed out engineer or an engineer from India. I'm buying all the material from India, wood from India, iron from India. So I will get contract. There is person C. Person C uses less than 20% of Indian made goods. He will not get the tender. So level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1, more than 50% Indian made goods. Level 2, 20 to 50% Indian made goods. Level 3, less than 20%. Level 3 people will not get. Level 1, level 2 will get priority in getting the contracts. Why? Atmanirbharta scheme or self-reliant India scheme. So this is the news, and with regard to this is the announcement that's been made by Department of Industry. You guys can have a look at it. So this is the announcement that's been made. See, whereas it's been told like definitions, they've redefined the entire quotation saying that. So I've read the entire document and I've simplified it for you. If you want, you guys can read through the entire document. So what is this about? This is a public procurement department. So what does the public procurement department say? So this is promotion of self-reliant India. You guys can please make a note. The fourth news that is there, self-reliant India or Atmanirbhar scheme or promotion of made in India. Level 1, level 2, level 3 contractors. Level 1, more than 50% of the goods and services which are Indian made. Level 2, 20 to 50% of Indian made goods and services. Level 3, less than 20%. This is the priority order. Level 3 will never get government tenders or contracts. Only level 1 and level 2 will get the government tenders and contracts. So this is with regard to news. So I have discussed it in complete. Now let us quickly see it from the PDF that has been issued by ICSI. Come on guys. So this is the PDF. You can download this from ICSI website. You just need to Google search ICSI e-Bulletin June 2019 and you will get it. So this has with respect to a lot of other papers also which are part of your CSEET. Please do read this document in full. So the first one, our Reserve Bank constituted an internal working group to review extent of ownership. I told you that. So what are the important parts or takeaways from this? First one is director. Who's the director? PK Mohanty. So this is one thing that I want you to make a note of. Next thing, these are the guidelines. Those are those 5 points what we discussed previously. And the report is to be submitted by 30th of September. That done. And this with regard to private banks. Second news, I told you, NASA astronaut and geologist. What's her name? Catherine D. Sullivan becomes the first woman to reach the deepest point of ocean. Done. And then she was a woman to walk in the space. Which woman? First American woman to walk in the space in 1984. She's 64 years of age and she's done it now. Yeah, it takes around 10 hours to reach there. I told you, right? 8 tons per square inch. Oh, sorry. I think then I referred 8 tons per square feet, but it's square inch. Inch is smaller, guys. 12 inches make 1 feet. So this much, okay, this much. On this much of, okay, this is 1 square, okay, 1 square inch. 1 square inch will be this much. On this much space, there is 8 tons of weight falling there. Your lungs might just explode when you go so deep in the ocean. And remember the temperature, it was minus 5 degrees Celsius. Here in Bangalore, when it is 20 to 23, we put 2 blankets when we sleep. Yeah. Okay, guys, let's get going. So then the third one I told you, right? People's Cooperative Bank. What has happened? 6 months. No lending, no borrowing. Okay, from fresh granting loans and accepting deposits. Barred. You get that starting from June till December it will be. Okay, next thing is public procurement rules. I told you to promote Make in India or Self-Reliant India. I told you no. Okay, it's called Class 1, Class 2 and non-local suppliers. 50%, 20%. Level Class 1 is more than 50%. Class 2 is 20 to 50%. Class 3 is less than 20%, which are completely ignored. Yeah, company with less than 20% of domestic content in their goods is will not be able to participate. Now, if I'm a company and in my company, if you give me contract, 80% or more than 80%, I use foreign goods, non-locally made goods. Okay, so will I get government tender? I will not get it. Sorry, government says sorry, boss. I will give it to only people who are in the local part. Why? Promotion of Atmanirbharta, self-reliant country. Okay, so this is sample questions that's issued by ICA. We'll not discuss it with respect to legal aptitude, logical reasoning. No. Our part is current affairs. Let's do current affairs thing. Yes, whereas you guys do it with respect to other papers as well, guys. Yeah, current affairs के लिए this been there. So is the chief executive officer of Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog think tank. You guys remember? We've discussed this previously. It's Amitabh Kant. We've discussed this previously in the class. When we discussed Niti Aayog, we've covered this point. Next thing, which ministry has released that e-booklet titled 1 Year of Modi? So which ministry will basically disclose this? This will be the ministry which is basically dealing with broadcasting. So human resource and development, no, that's been basically changed into Ministry of Education now. Yeah, Home Affairs is basically relating with the security of the country. They will not be boasting about the fact that 1 year is completed or something. It will be the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Yeah, Prasar Bharati, Tourism, everything comes under this only. And then Man Ki Baat, everything comes under this. Yeah. Next one. Which of the following is the longest expressway? Yeah, longest expressway that's being complete, that's likely to be completed by 2021 is Purvanchal Expressway. That's the name of it. Why is it called Purvanchal? It is because it's on the Purva side. It's basically on the east. Yeah, and then Purva side of what? Uttaranchal, basically. In the Uttaranchal east side, it's there. So it's called Purvanchal Expressway. So this is the longest expressway that will be there in India. You get that? And it is expected to be completed by when? 2021. Yeah, fingers crossed. Next, we've discussed G7. You remember, group of 7 countries. Yeah, in the last G7 summit, no, one of the countries, propagated the fact of adding 3 additional countries to it and then calling it D10. D10 is democracies, 10 democracies. So who basically initiated this? James Cameron of United Kingdom. James Cameron from United Kingdom made this idea, proposed this idea, wherein instead of calling it G7, you can call it 10D. I told you, right? Narendra Modi was invited to the G7 committee. But is India part of G7? No, India is not part of G7. But India was invited. So when this is happening, what are they doing? So that G7 is there, plus 3 democratic countries will be added, and they wanted to call it 10 democracies instead of calling it G7. So that's the idea proposed. That's not happening right now. It's not been approved by other people. That's just an idea. You get that? Next, who has been appointed as the new president of Confederation of Indian Industry? Uday Kotak, the proud chairman of Kotak Mahindra Group. Uday Kotak has been appointed as a new president of Confederation of Indian Industry. Done. Let's go to the next one. Okay, this was part of our sports affairs. That Khelo India, which was basically launched in Northeast. There was one logo and all. You guys remember? Yeah, we've discussed this. Yeah. So this was basically started off. Name the Sports and Youth Affairs Minister of India who launched 25-day Khelo India Community Coach Development Program for physical education teachers and community coaches. This was Kiran Rijiju. Yeah. So he's the minister who basically launched this program. Yeah, you guys can go back and then read that. We've done this in the class previously. Then the next one is, who becomes the first ever woman to reach the deepest point of the ocean? The Challenger deep. We discussed this just now in the present video. What was that? Is it Peggy Watson? No. Is it Stephanie Wilson? No. Yes, it is Kathy Sullivan. Yeah, she's an astronaut and a geologist. Yeah, she's the first American woman to go into space. Okay, next. Securities Exchange Board of India has rearranged the Commodity Derivatives Advisory Committee. Yeah, relating to commodities and derivatives, they've rearranged it. Who chairs the committee? Basically, who's the chairman of the committee? The name of the chairman is Ashok Dalwani. If you people have been following it up on a very close basis, you would get to know. See, there are a lot of news that will happen in the country, and if you try to read Economic Times and Mint or any newspaper, Business Standard or such like, no, it's a very big newspaper. You can't remember everything. So, what are the things to remember? When we discussed in the class as well, I told you how to pick news which are relevant for your exam. Now, SEBI is part of our syllabus. So, any news relating to SEBI you should be interested. IBBI part of our syllabus. Any news relating to IBBI we should read. SARC, and then what do you say, WTO, and all this Indian based, you should see international organization, national organizations, whatever the bodies names that we discuss. Any news that will come out relating to that entity should be part of our syllabus, and we should try to focus on that news when we read our newspaper on daily basis. Just do this on 2 3 days, okay? After that, Google starts giving you suggestions with respect to news regarding SEBI, news regarding IPBI, news regarding ICSI, news regarding RBI, and everything. Yeah, let's go to the next one. Union government has announced no new schemes will be launched till what? See, when this entire pandemic strike does and company is going into GDP which is negative, so the government has very clearly made a statement saying that we will not launch any new schemes. Will not launch any new schemes till 31st of March 2021. And at a later stage, the situation will be reassessed and again they'll propose new schemes. Yeah. So till when will there be no new schemes? Till 31st of March 2021. This is not the time to start something new. This is the time to survive. Just survive. Once you survive this particular phase, then the way things would be like very different. You just have to survive this phase. These are tough times and everyone has to face it. Yeah. Which data sharing website was blocked by government of India? Yeah, see, WeTransfer is the app which was blocked. A lot of us would jump on it and then say share it. Share it was not blocked. Share it was just removed from the Play Store, and in fact you can still download share it and then use it. It's still functional in our country. Whereas WeTransfer is an app which is being banned or blocked by government of India. And yeah, a lot of people make a lot of hullabaloo about like PUBG being banned, TikTok being banned and all. So WeTransfer is one other app that's been banned. So that's the news with regard to this. And the answers are also actually given in the material only. You guys can read that. And yes, that's the motto of our ICSI. We've discussed this in the class also previously. This is the last page. What is it? Satyam vada dharmam chara. Speak the truth, abide the law, and don't forget to. This is the statement from what they say. This is an extension to. This is an Upanishad. Okay, it goes like Satyam vada dharmam chara. The motto of ICSI ends here. Whereas the continuation, the next line to this goes like Swa adhyayanam ma pramadha. Basically, Swa adhyayanam. Swa adhyayanam means self study. Na pramadha means don't stop it. So you need to speak the truth and abide the law. But a most important point is self study is something that you should never stop. I would come up with what is say bulletin discussion for July month, August month, and September month as well. But I'm trying to do this from my end. But that doesn't mean that you will relax. The self study, what you're going to do after watching this lecture, is something that should never ever stop. So that's the discussion for today. I hope I've made little value addition to your CSEET examination preparations. See you all in the next video wherein we'll discuss bulletin issued by ICSI with regard to the month of July. Yes, see you all in the next video guys. Till then, stay in the game. Bye.